One of the stories that I like best from your book was the one about Sam Cathy, especially because it was very specific and concrete.
Yes.
And we went over to him, and this is what he told us.
I was out in California preaching right next to Disney World, and Disneyland, I think it is out there. And on Saturday night, I called home to see how things were, and my wife told me that our oldest daughter, who was 9 at the time, was at that time in the hospital, diagnosed with appendicitis, high fever, terribly sick. Well, I got on the plane. It was very sparsely populated was the plane, and I always sit against the bulkhead, the screen, the curtain right here leading into first class. And I looked up there, dark, nobody sitting up there. So when the stewardess came up to me, I said, "Do you mind if I sit in that first class section?" Now, I never put Reverend or Doctor on my tickets. I just put Sam Cathy. Never tell anybody I'm a preacher, just me. And she said I could not go up there because they didn't have a stewardess up there. And I said, "Well, I'll just rest here in this seat, then do the best I can." She walked away, and the minute she walked away, another lady came through that curtain. This girl was dressed in red, trimmed in blue. The girl that came through from that first class section was dressed in blue, trimmed in red. After about hour and 45 minutes of that, and it wasn't obtrusive and it wasn't boring, delightful. At that point, she got very formal with me. She stiffened and she was standing like right here, fully extended her arm and touched my shoulder. And she said, "O thou man of God, Nola is all right." And she turned and walked away and went through that curtain. Probably took me 3-4 seconds to get my composure, because I had not said Nola was sick. I had not called her name. I had not said I was a preacher. Nothing. I hadn't said anything.
You were completely...
I hadn't said anything. Oh, baffled. I was blown away. I jumped up, ran through the curtain to find her, and of course she was gone. And the other girl, the girl dressed in red, remember?
Yeah.
She put her hands on her hips. She said, "Where have you been? We've been looking for you. We were worried about you." I said, "I was sitting right up in the first class." She said, "I told you not to go up there, that sort of stuff." And I said, "Well, the head stewardess took me up there." She said, "I'm the head stewardess." I said, "No, I'm talking about the girl dressed in blue with the red trim. We don't have anybody like that." And I told her the story, and they began to look. I began to look. One of the 3 pilots or navigators or whatever, whomever, came out. We looked everywhere, and of course she was not to be found. My conclusion was that God sent an angel to minister to me and my family, and it made a profound, profound difference in our life.
What happened to your daughter? She told you...
Plane landed.
Okay.
Plane landed. And that was back in the days when we didn't have the conveyors to walk on. We had to come down the steps onto the tarmac. And she was standing back out there just beyond the retainer. And I came down off the plane and walked toward her.
You mean your wife?
Yeah. And she said, "You're not going to believe this, but the hospital just called. They ran another blood test because the fever was gone, and there's no trace of appendicitis. They said for us to come and get Nola."